this content is for kids.
It's not for kids.
Isn't that what I said?
No, it's not for kids. If you are 13 years or younger, this is not for you. Do I have to kill somebody in order to actually make that point across?
No, man, you don't have to kill
Wait
no one.
a second.
Oh, no.
When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings! You're watching SeptumSin versus the world. I'm SeptumSin, this is Kotobuki Jake, and we're here to show you what we got.
Yes.
Show me what you got. I want to see what you got. Oh boy.
Alright, so we're going to move fast here. We got 7 things to present, and I'm going to have Jake start us off here.
All right. And I got some fun stuff this week. I'm going to start off with actually thinning the herd a little bit with the stuff that I picked up from the library that's been sitting on the shelf forever and ever. And the first one is an adaptation of the best-selling novel by Fergus Hume, The Mystery of a Hansom Cab. Sounds kind of fun. It's got John Waters, Jessica DeGale, and Oliver Ackland. From the look of it, it appears that it's an Australian film. And could be kind of fun. I like getting a little bit of Australian stuff mixed in every now and then. You don't see a whole lot of that outside of your Mad Maxes and that kind of stuff. So it'll be kind of cool.
Well, I've got at least, I got 2 video game pickups this time. We're going to start with the God of War saga. Unfortunately, for this one, it's supposed to come with these 2 games, the portable games, but as you can see, the code is invisible.
All right.
But that's all right. I only wanted it for God of War 1, 2, and 3, so I can play it on the console. It's good to have it on my PlayStation 3. It's been a lot of play lately because I've been playing Suikoden, and as sort of a prerequisite for the pre-show for Tuesday, Project Snake, I've been playing some Metal Gear Solid just to so I can understand some of the jokes that we had.
Right.
So some pretty cool stuff right there.
Cool. All right. My next library pickup is a British production of a Sony Pictures Classics production, if you will. Roger Mitchell's version of Persuasion, the old Jane Austen story. And this particular version stars Amanda Root, Karen Hines, and others. Obviously don't know an extraordinary amount about this particular version, but as an English major, I feel it my duty to explore Jane Austen works. And I don't think I've seen this version, but I will look for. I've seen a version of Persuasion. I'll look forward to seeing this.
So, actually, I said I covered this last time, but apparently I didn't, which was one of the 4 documentaries that I got, one of the other cheap ones. We talked about that How to Live Forever one. This one is a one that's actually by Spurlock, which is Comic-Con, Episode 4, A Fan's Hope. It kind of gives some of the background of Comic-Con. I wasn't as impressed by it as I wanted to be, because I felt like it really kind of just followed around different people at a particular Comic-Con. I was kind of hoping more for a founding of Comic-Con, but still, it was a fun feature. It was enjoyable. If you like Comic-Con, it's kind of worth a pickup. Most places you can get it for $1.
Good deal.
Yep.
All right, now we get into the actual meat of it. And one reason I wanted to lead off with a couple of sort of Britishy kind of things, like so one's Australian, but whatever, is I finally made an important move toward completing one of the greatest shows of our time. I still need to get the movie, but with season 5, I now have the entirety of Downton Abbey, other than the movie. And I actually found this for about the same price I got season 6 for, which was not much. So I was like, I ought to do that. And this is, of course, a great show. We've talked about it at some length on this channel. So check out our backlog and you'll learn all you need to know.
So, one of these that I picked up a couple of these, again, more Wet Movie 1 pickups here, which I got this because I thought it was kind of cool. He was selling this. He actually discounted the price for me. And this was a Mr. Hobbs Takes a Vacation.
I love the cover.
Stewart movie and comedy. And a fairly amusing one from Twilight Time. So, of course, as you know, with most Twilight Time, it was very limited in run and likely out of print. But still, it has a nice little booklet. Not a ton of special features, but it was an amusing enough little tale about this guy and his family that kind of just go to their own corners, and they're forced into this beach house together for their vacation. And this is a ratty beach house. So it's amusing enough as a story itself. So if you haven't checked it out and you find a copy, it's worth it. Just for just having that kind of poster there. I like the poster that it has.
Yeah, it is kind of fun. I need to see that one of these days. All right, next up, notably, I don't think I've ever ordered directly from Shout Factory before. And I finally did. And this one, of course, is on the Rightstuf sale for about $2 less, but it's still, that's not a big difference. And it was one that I finally decided I needed to just take action. And there's a reason why this one got chosen that I'll get to it in a minute. But this is an anthology that I actually saw in theaters, so I've talked about it on this channel, and it's a really excellent anthology from Studio Ponoch, the successor in many ways to Studio Ghibli. And the people behind Mary and the Witch's Flower are also behind this anthology, which is called Ponoch Short Films Theater Modest Heroes, which is 3 films. The first one, Canino and Canini and Canino, the central one, is a story about crabs who happen to look like people. They're little stream crabs in a stream in Japan, but they're very anthropomorphized, and there's almost no dialogue, and it's just a real simple film. It's from the director of Mary of the Witch's Flower, who also is the director of The Secret World of Arietti, and when Marnie was there, Hiromasa Yonebayashi. Invisible is this one here, is from Akihiko Yamashita, and it's about a guy who basically he has no existence. People ignore him, and he is so ignored that he has literally become invisible and is in danger of ceasing to exist altogether. And then the final one is called Life Ain't Gonna Lose, and that's what this image is from. She is the mother of a young boy who has a fatal allergy. I think it's to eggs. And it's a really touching film. It's from Yoshiyuki Momose, who also who worked closely with Isao Takahata. Takahata was actually going to be involved in this before his passing. But I loved Life Ain't Gonna Lose. Of the 3 of them, Invisible was really good. Canini and Canino was excellent. This one was flipping awesome. And I was deeply moved by this one. As a whole, it's a nice, fun little anthology, and very happy to finally have it. It's held its price. It just never seems to really go on sale. So, yeah.
Well, I've got all of my stuff assembled now, so.
All right.
So I've got here I finally purchased this on a sale. I've been wanting this to upgrade my old copy because they've added some content and they smoothed up the edges. You talk about like a Ghibli successor. Well, here's something from Ghibli, and this is Ni no Kuni, White Witch remastered. Now, this actually had Studio Ghibli involved in the art, style, and story. And it is a pretty cool RPG. I played a little bit of it, and it is very neat. And it's got that cool cell-shaded style and those animated cutscenes. It's about this boy who ends up losing his mother in a tragic accident, but he finds out that he may still be able to save her life by saving the life of a princess in an alternate reality. It's a pretty cool looking story. I never beat it, but maybe now that I've got it on PlayStation 4 and it's been a little bit upgraded visually, I may go ahead and go at it. I've got the sequel as well sitting on my shelf, so maybe one of these days. Long RPGs, I got so many of them. It's just a lot.
Right. Okay, next up. This is why I went ahead and got Modest Heroes, even though it wasn't really on sale. Shout has been running a deal for a minute now of going out of print in 2020. They're running sale prices on items that they will not have for much longer. And unfortunately, most of them are items that don't interest me or barely do. Maybe it's fortunate. I don't know. But one of them has not been in their collection all that long. I feel like we presented it on this channel a year or two ago, and I think you got it. And that's a movie that I feel like I have to have in my collection. So that's what triggered the sale. And it's a film written by the brothers Coen and their friend Sam Raimi and directed by Raimi called Crime Wave.
Yes.
And, talk about your great cover art. But so basically, it also features Bruce Campbell, Louise Lasser, Paul L. Smith, Brian James, Cherie J. Wilson, etc., etc. But like I said, did I say Bruce Campbell? So basically, this was Raimi's follow-up to The Evil Dead and the Coens' follow-up to Blood Simple. And I think by most accounts, it's nowhere near as classic as either of those. But it still looks fun. And I've got to see this. And like I said, when they said they were going to stop having it in print, I was like, what do you mean you're not going to?
You got to grab that one.
Exactly.
Makes it worth it right there. So, remember I had said earlier that I'd managed to get every Oscar winner from 2000 almost all the way to present.
Right.
With the exception of the recent year, because I'm not buying those at the high prices.
Right.
So I went ahead and I got this documentary called Murder on a Sunday, which is a very apt documentary for these times.
Right.
Really, if you go back in time when you talk about this kid who was basically bullied into confessing to a murder he didn't commit, and the process that eventually leads to his freedom. But it's very frustrating, and it shows the play of race and how a lot of the community, especially law enforcement community, is treating that in an unfair manner. Just, that whole thing, because of the color of your skin, you're obviously a guilty party.
Right.
I'm glad this one actually did have a happy ending, but it does kind of show that miscarriage of justice. So if you're anywhere into that sort of movement, you should grab this. It's unfortunately out of print. But I'm glad I have one because it is a necessary, even if I wasn't collecting all the winners, this one deserved its win.
Right, exactly. And on the theme of trying to get things while they're in print, a couple weeks ago, I presented something that was a pretty awesome pickup, which was Sailor Stars limited edition set. I still don't have the second half of Sailor Moon R or Sailor Moon S, but I do have the second half of Stars. So this series is now, this season is now complete. And once I finally get those other two parts, I can start watching the whole thing. But it's coming along.
Well, as you know, Rightstuf is doing a birthday sale.
Yes.
We've talked about it before. Now,
Yes.
this one, of course, we have one purchase I made, which was for the film, with the series Berserk.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be confused with the other Berserk series, which is the prequel to this. I was so excited when this came out because it was cool that they finally were following up with the actual manga instead of the prequel to, which they did a retelling with the 3 movies. Essentially, it's about this guy named Guts who picked up with a mercenary band. His friend, by the way, spoilers, his friend betrays him, murders everybody in his band, and sticks a bunch of demons after the remaining ones, which is just him and one other person. And this takes place after that. Unfortunately, it only went 2 seasons, mainly because they really didn't do a good job with the animation. But at the same time, I really want to support it because I've wanted this for so long. It's good to find it in the collection, and the price was most definitely right.
Good times. So, my last one is going to be something a little bit different. It's a book. This is a book that I checked out a while back from the library, and I've been reading through it, and I've been fascinated by it, and there was a hold on it, and I was so fascinated by it, and I was like, this is going to be a very important one to have, and a very important one to be able to share with people. And I want to share with y'all right now, anyone who's in the RVA or really the Mid-Atlantic, I would recommend hunting this book down. This is called Chesapeake Gardening and Landscaping, The Essential Green Guide. And it's a really, really, really well done, for the most part. When it gets into the actual plant information, honestly, they could have researched it a little harder. There were a couple of slight missteps in that part. But the basic principles and ideas, the advice for landscaping and all that kind of stuff, I think this should be on every gardener's shelf in the Mid-Atlantic. And honestly, the principles put forward any gardener's shelf, because the way most people garden is stupid and needs to end. So this is a good way to change things up. And like I said, I had to jump on this one, and it's nice and shiny and new too, which is cool. But like I said, it's something a little different in end with this week. Yeah.
So when getting one of the films for our Inside Movies Galore, I had bought it dirt cheap. And they were offering a bunch of other films by the same person dirt cheap, like for $1 a piece. So I said, okay, I'll finally get something that would be considered an essential film, even though I don't really have much interest. And that was the film Napoleon Dynamite. Now, now that I've seen it, I don't like these flip things either. Now that I've seen it, does that mean that I am now interested and I'm won over? Not really. I don't hate it, which I probably would have if I had seen it when it came out. So in a way, it's a good thing. If you want to see
the hype machine for that destroyed it for me, and I was nowhere near as sensitive to hype as you are.
So, I don't know. Vote for Pedro, right?
Exactly. Pedro was cool. I like Pedro.
Yes. So it was interesting enough. It was about this guy living out in the middle of nowhere, and he's weird, and and his friends are kind of weird, and everything's weird.
And that's the plot, really.
And it's the 70s, so
Right.
yeah, not a decade that I'm particularly fond of. I wasn't raised in the 70s, but I have a feeling I'm kind of glad I wasn't. And no offense to you who loved the 70s and were raised in the 70s, or my condolences anyway. But hey, you might have gotten to know Napoleon.
You might have.
So with that being said, do you have any more? I can't. I think.
No, I'm done.
Okay, good. I was running so quick, I was like missing my place.
Yeah, our other video ran a little long, so this was the short version of our pickups, but
But still, I hope you all have enjoyed this. Click that like button, subscribe, and of course, we'll see you on the next.
yeah.
Bye.
Bye.